What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Raybon of the Action Network, and this is our 2023 Fantasy Football Busts episode. We already have our Sleepers episode out, so be sure to check that out. Here to break all of the busts down at each position. One of the top rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Ready to shit on Jameson Williams ADP one last time?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sad. I don't even know where, how, why. It just doesn't make sense at all.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. We're gonna go through our top busts, guys. We're avoiding at each position, and this could be very valuable because sleepers. The chances of you actually having a chance to draft them, I think, are a little lower. But a lot of times, busts are guys that most people are going to have a chance to draft, because they're higher up. So it is important to kind of talk through these guys. At quarterback, not as much, but let's still start there. Who you got for busts at quarterback?
Yeah, like you mentioned, no one really stands out as a bust, but I haven't been getting much Derek Carr at QB19, so I'll go with him. He's mainly like a 2 QB superflex kind of format quarterback, but I'm still not getting him because he's looked great this preseason. Like, the Saints offense does look like it's going to be pretty legit to start the year. But with Derek Carr on the Saints, you've mentioned it. He does struggle in the first year under a new offensive coordinator. Plus, he's going to have to deal with Taysom Hill packages around the red zone, so that's going to hurt his upside a bit. Plus, the Saints have just a really easy schedule. They have the easiest schedule according to my strength of schedule rankings, which is why they have a 9.5 win total. So I think they're going to have a lot more leading game scripts than I think people realize, which might, force them to run a little bit more. But I just, in this range, I'd much rather have like Matthew Stafford, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, even like Brock Purdy, I would take over Derek Carr. So it's just a lot of the drafts, I haven't seen him fall to me and I haven't had a reason to reach for him. So he just stands as like a bust because of where he's been going a lot of the drafts I've been in.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really getting much Carr. I am very low on him. If you look at his career numbers, the 4 years in which he had a new scheme, new offensive coordinator, were his worst 4 years in terms of passer rating, yards per attempt, pretty much any efficiency metric you can think of. All of Carr's worst statistical seasons have come in year one of a new offense, and even the winning percentage has gone way down. So, he's really struggled. And, the Saints team, I do worry about Carr with them because their interior line is pretty bad. Pete hasn't been good in a while. McCoy has been struggling as of late. And then who is it? Ruiz, I believe, at right guard. He's struggled as well. And so they have good tackles. They have Penning and Ramczyk at tackle. Love the tackles. But shaky interior. That's pretty much exactly what the Raiders were last year. They had great tackles and one of the worst interior lines in the league. And Carr, his accuracy really struggled. I think he's one of those guys really, interior pressure, not going to be a friend of really any quarterback, but Derek Carr, a guy who's a little bit robotic in the pocket, doesn't like to hold the ball for too long. That interior pressure is gonna throw him off. His accuracy's been declining for 3 straight seasons now. Last year he was 35th out of 41 quarterbacks. So I think you're kind of going out on a limb saying he's just gonna kind of bounce back after getting benched for Jarrett Stidham and be good in year right away in this offense. Yes, the schedule's easy. But I mean, the Saints really just play a whole bunch of other mediocre teams like the Saints. So it's easy if they're good, but if Carr's not good, they might not be good. But then Carr might get benched because there's Jameson's still there. Taysom Hill's probably going to get a couple snaps at quarterback. So yeah, I mean, I'm not very high on this Saints team, but Carr is the guy that stands out for me. Not getting much Aaron Rodgers either. I just think 40-year-old quarterback. Really don't trust Hackett, even though I know he'll probably just let Rodgers kind of run the show. And that Jets defense is just so good that, I mean, Is Rodgers really going to have to put up like 280, 290 to win games? Probably not. He much lower than that last year, and with a worse defense. So, not really digging Rodgers. Did not have any top 5 finishes. I think Carr and Rodgers were the 2 guys that did not have any top 5 quarterback finishes last year. So
there you go.
You're probably not missing much by fading him. Probably not missing much.
His ADP is down like QB 17. Again, it's super sharp this year, right? I mean, when we first started talking about it, he was QB 12, right? After he signed with the Jets, he was QB 12, and the market has slowly adjusted to, he shouldn't be a low-end QB1. So QB 17 sounds about right, but I'm with you. I don't have that much Rodgers shares anyways because, like you said, they're probably not going to have to throw that much this year.
Yeah, and I mean, anything happens to Garrett Wilson, and that's just now you're just not even going to want to throw. Like it's just a whole different kind of situation. Okay, let's go to a more important position, running back. I see some interesting names on both of our lists, and they are completely different. So this is going to be fun. I guess we could go back and forth here. Let's see who has the highest ADP. I guess it's me with no. I think has Najee overtaken.
Close. I think that's the question. They're both like RB9 right now.
Yeah, you can start with Najee.
Yeah, so Najee's going like RB9, basically a low-end RB1. But the reason I usually fade Harris is the same reason why I invest in Jaylen Warren is I just think Harris is in danger of seeing this backfield devolve into more of a 50-50 committee this year. Like I said, I think Warren is just really talented, finished top 10 my expected yards per attempt model, and Harris is bottom 10. And the reason why we've loved Harris in fantasy the past couple of seasons is because of the high volume. But if that might not be there this year, then I think he's a very dangerous pick in this range. Plus, when you look at just drafts in general, you're looking at either like you can grab Mark Andrews if you want a tight end, or one of the last of the top 3 quarterbacks can make it to you, or start drafting a high-end wide receiver 2 when Najee Harris is going. So that's another reason why I don't get Harris. Just the point in the draft is not the time for when I'm taking running backs anyway. So there's just a bunch of red flags for Harris where he's going at the round 2-3 turn. So yeah, he's one of my least rostered running backs this year.
Yeah, I like my teams a lot better when I go with like a hero running back or a zero running back strategy where I'm at most getting one in the first 5 rounds. So taking a guy in that range is just not really something I'm doing anyway. So I see where you're going, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Jaylen Warren. I think the Steelers will run. Like I don't think Najee will just completely faceplant, but I agree. Like you're taking a guy in this range, and it speaks to just the running back position in general. When you combine that with the fact that they're likely to miss double the amount of games of every other position, I like my teams a lot more when I just get my wide receivers up, get a tight end, get a quarterback even, and just get a bunch of like RB2 type of guys like in the 7th, 8th round. I mean, I think that's the way to go, because even the guys like, even if you're drafted in the first round, what are the odds that McCaffrey plays at 17 games again, Eckler plays 17 games again? Like it's kind of been things going against the odds that I think people are kind of getting lulled to sleep with some of these, and just kind of thinking these running backs are going to continue. Even in Najee, he hasn't missed a game yet, which I know he's a big, powerful, young, strong man, but it's football, man. It's undefeated. Football is the war of attrition in football is undefeated. So, Najee's not a guy I have much of either. And another guy I'm staying away from, and this maybe it's not as much of a surprise as it would have been a few weeks ago or a month ago, but Josh Jacobs, the guy I'm not really feeling. I think last year was the year to invest in Jacobs when everyone was down on him because they were freaking out because he played in the first preseason game, and now it's like, okay, Zamir White has another year to develop. The team probably is going to be bad. Their win total 6.5. They won't necessarily be in all these 1-score games like they were last year. They were still bad last year, but a lot of games are close, which helps, obviously, you run the ball. The interior line's not great for the Raiders. And then you got the holdouts, the contract situation, and the further it stretches, the more you wonder, especially coming off a huge workload, where's the conditioning going to be at? Is there going to be an increased, like, what has he been doing all off season? Has he been working out? Is he going to be at higher risk for injury? And McDaniels even said, a guy has to practice, and like, I'm not just going to throw him back in there. So, might not even see the same workload as last year early on if this holdout continues to stretch. So, and that's on top of the fact that there's only been a few running backs that have carried the ball 320 or more times in a season over the past decade or so. But those backs have combined to average 7 missed games the next year. And they've also, each one of them has dropped at least a yard off their yard per carry average. So like, there's just so many things pointing to regression that, I don't want to draft a running back in this range anyway, but Jacobs, who I think is still one of the better, backs in that range. So many things are kind of pointing to risk factors and just kind of like screaming potential bust that I'm just all the way off of Jacobs this year.
Yeah, there's a ton of red flags there. And again, he's being drafted where, you got Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins. It's just the range in the draft that I still think you should be targeting wide receiver as well, because of, like we said, all these concerns with running backs. That's just the nature of the position. So not a good time to be investing in the position, in my opinion.
All right, let's keep it going in order ADP. So that's Breece Hall. That's another guy I'm avoiding. RB16. That's just too high for me. Like, I love Breece Hall. I think he's an amazing talent, but like, we've seen this so many times where a running back comes back from a injury like this, and they either get injured again trying to compensate, or they're just generally not quite as explosive, or the team just limits their workload. And we saw the quotes earlier in the offseason. Joe Douglas, the GM's like, we're going to save him from himself. And they followed through on it. They signed Dalvin Cook, who's averaged over 17 carries per game in his career, never fewer than 12 carries per game. And when you combine like all the risk factors for Breece Hall, I think the best case scenario would be Breece Hall as the Aaron Jones, and in terms of usage, and Cook as the AJ Dillon. Well, the last 2 years, Aaron Jones has been in points per game, half PPR points per game. Aaron Jones has been RB12 and RB16. Breece Hall is being drafted as RB16. That was a healthy Aaron Jones. Like, there's not much room for growth. Like, if I draft a running back 16th, then this again is why I like Alexander Madison, because I'm not saying he has no risk, but he also has the upside to be a Josh Jacobs of this year. Like, every down doesn't come out. Breece, that's just not going to be the case for Breece Hall. They gave Dalvin Cook almost $6 million guaranteed with the opportunity to make another 2.5 through incentives. This guy never averaged fewer than 12 carries a game. He's coming off a season where he played all 17. Like, they're not just going to like cast him to the side. So I just can't get there with this Breece Hall projection anywhere close to RB16. I think he should be going as a high end. Ideally, he would be like a high end RB3 who, if he does better than expected, then great, you got some upside there. But I can't get even one share of him at this ADP. Not even one.
Yeah, I'm shocked. His current ADP is RB16. I've been in some drafts where he does still go in like the top 15, and are people aware that they signed Dalvin Cook? It's almost like they're not factoring that in, because where do you have him ranked? I have him ranked RB23 right now.
Yeah, I think I'm 31. 31.
I mean, that's not too crazy, because like you said, it could be a true 50-50 split. I think if you were going to take a Jets running back, it would be Dalvin Cook, right? Just because he's going
in the 30s. I've been like working on a model of kind of like, it's kind of a games played model. It's not that simple, but it essentially just kind of, takes the form of games played to kind of like measure the risk, and it takes into account, missed games and injuries in prior years, and a little different for each position. But yeah, Breece Hall, missing, tearing his ACL as a rookie in October, he's one of the highest risk running backs I have. So even if I just project him for like a normal workload and like project him aggressively, I'm still going to be low on him because I still think he just has more downside risk. And that's exactly what you're trying to avoid in the at this point in the draft. In the first, 3, 4, 5 rounds, you cannot win your draft in these rounds. You can only lose it. Mm-hmm. Everyone is high ceiling. You have to avoid the low floor guys as best you can. Everyone is high ceiling. Like we just talked about, like guys like Alexander Madison, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones goes like 1 or 2 picks before Breece Hall. Just like if you want that, just take Aaron Jones. If he's not there, just like take a receiver. I just people are gonna like it's like a couple years ago when everyone was like taking Barkley like as if nothing happened.
I was gonna say he's 2021 Saquon Barkley, and then next year he'll be 2022 Saquon Barkley.
I was writing up a blurb earlier today for we're going to release some fantasy content. You and I just kind of roundtables on different guys that were fade sleepers, all that good stuff. And for Hall, I wrote I think he's going to be a much better 2024 fantasy pick than a 2023 fantasy pick. That's just you just got to know when to get in and out on these guys. Just like Jacobs, like last year was the time to get in. This year, time to get out. Breece Hall, last year you got like 4 or 5 good games out of him. Get out this year. Now next year, everyone's going to probably be freaked out. Dalvin Cook's only signed for a year. So like Breece Hall, just right back to having the backfield to himself. I mean, maybe Abanikanda will factor in, but it just screams bust. Like it couldn't be more clear unless your name was Jameson Williams. Like
exactly.
Breece Jameson Williams Hall.
Wow.
Speaking of the Lions, DeAndre Swift is former Lion is next up on your list. Why do you think he shall be a bust in 2023?
Yeah, well, this is kind of how we started the offseason. I was kind of iffy on him in this range, so he's RB 23-ish right now, but it just heading into week 1, it does seem like the Eagles' backfield is still a bit of a mystery. It looks like it could be a full-blown 3-way committee, with Rachaad Penny, Kenny Gainwell. I think Kenny Gainwell is going to be more involved than we both expected. However, I think Swift still has the most upside, and he should dominate the passing down work, but that's not really the role that you want on the Eagles because, Jalen Hurts is still going to be scrambling more than he is dumping it off to his running back. So running back 23 just feels too high for a situation that is a, frozen pond type of situation where any given week, one of these backs could step up. And certainly that will be Swift on a handful of weeks. But at RB23, you want to be drafting a guy like I'd rather have Alexander Madison there. Does that make you happy? I'd rather have Alexander Madison.
Shouldn't even be in the same breath. Absolutely not.
Madison's being drafted 4 slots behind Swift.
Yeah,
so
that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I think
discrepancies.
I think Madison has a way higher floor than DeAndre Swift. So just in this situation, I rather invest in like a Rachaad Penny or Kenny Gainwell later. Not saying I want those guys, but I don't want to overspend for the guy sitting atop a 3-way committee. That's why I think DeAndre Swift could end up being a bust in this range.
And it could be 4-way committee. I mean, we saw Boston Scott, and he's the highest paid running back on the roster. Boston Scott, by the way,
he's going to get his 3 to 4 touchdowns this year. We know that. So yeah
exactly.
4-way committee, exactly.
Yep. I agree. I thought when they first acquired Penny and Swift, I was like, okay, they just kind of want to do, that's going to be their running back, their backfield, Swift and Penny. And then, Gainwell, if inevitably Penny gets hurt, but it seems like they want to just have a 3-4-way committee. And I get it. They rely on the run. It's a big part of what they do. And you never really want to rely on one player when, it's that big of what you do. So I can't knock it, but it's going to make things pretty nightmarish for fantasy, especially because I don't even love these guys in best ball. Well, I don't love Swift and Penny in best ball because these guys have a spotty track record of durability. So, when I'm in best ball, I can't just drop these guys, or I can't just IR stash these guys if they get, if they get hurt.
True.
So now it's like I don't really know what to do with them. So yeah, I'm not really in on Swift. Don't really know what to do with the Eagles backfield. That's, if you get it right, congratulations to you. But I think it's going to be just a nightmare all season. And I think they could become more pass heavy as well. I think this could be a Jalen Hurts MVP type year. So it might just be moot. So yeah, not loving this Eagles backfield, but maybe we'll get some clarity at some point in the season. But yeah, I'm with you on Swift. I have him RB33. All right, next up, Rachaad White. Okay, that's an interesting one because he's been rising. Yeah. And it's pretty much because Tampa Bay still hasn't signed anyone. But you're not like, because he's up to RB21 in a lot of spots.
Or RB19
in
that.
Yeah.
And
I've seen him above Cam Akers, and so you're just not on board.
No, he's another back I don't draft in. Alexander Madison still on the board. But Rachaad White is the prototypical frozen pond type of player, where he's a lock to be the week 1 starter. I'm not denying that. Like week 1, he will be ranked, as a RB2 in my weekly rankings. But, and while he's a great pass catching back, his rushing metrics last year were just awful. I mean, if you look at the 58 backs that qualified, he was 56th in my expected yards per attempt model, because he ranked 50th in avoided tackle rate, 53rd in explosive run rate, and 56th in yards after contact rate. So just he's not a great running back. And while he doesn't have that many talented backs behind him, I could see like a Keyshawn Vaughn, Chase Edmonds, or even a Sean Tucker, who I do like, eating into his workload. So it's just one of those situations where his value might peak week 1, and then from there it devolves into more of a committee, or he gets leapfrogged. So it's just a dangerous situation drafting a back like that, running back 19, whereas I think Madison is on more stable ground in that way. But Rachaad White is a back that I'm not getting in my top 20. So I think he's definitely a red flag, definitely a frozen pond type of bust situation happening here.
Yeah, it's, I think the concerning thing for me was the yardage after contact, because this Tampa Bay offensive line, I was talking to our guy Brandon Anderson about this. He did he released a great piece on actionnetwork.com where he ranked and tiered all the offensive lines, and I think he had the Bucs like 19th or something like that. And I was like, how? Like they have one good lineman, and he's switching sides and might not be too happy about it.
No, he's getting major anxiety over it too.
Yeah. And then, no, I know. So it's like their best lineman has question marks. Like the center, what was his name? Jensen. He missed the whole year and came back for that one playoff game. He looked cooked. Maybe now he's on the wrong side of 30, so I don't know if he bounces back. Gadecki can't block anyone. There's a rookie at one of the spots. So like this is probably going to be a bad offensive line again, is what I'm getting at. And in that situation, you need a back that's going to be able to create after contact. Like the just the straight up explosive runs and lack of whatever doesn't worry me as much, because like that's probably an offensive line stat. But like just straight up creating yards after contact is going to be more attributable to the running back's talent and skill level. And that's where we haven't seen enough of White to this point. Now this Bucs backfield, I mean, there's not really much there, so I get why he's kind of rising. But you don't expect many touchdowns. You don't expect, it's just, I think the best thing that could happen to him would be if he just kind of catches a lot of passes, because you just lost Russell Gage. So you really don't have much behind Evans and Godwin. You still have Cade Otton, I guess, but he's kind of, I don't know. He didn't have super impressive rookie year, all things considered. So, I mean, there's a chance White could be like the number 3 target, but this is also not Tom Brady anymore. So the running backs might not get like 8 checkdowns per game, because they might not throw 58 times just to get 273 yards or whatever it is that they were doing last year. So it's a tough team to project. We just got news that Baker's gonna be the week 1 starter. Probably holds the job for a decent amount of the year. Kyle Trask didn't look great, but Baker Mayfield, from what off the top of my head, I don't remember him being a big check down guy. Definitely not in Cleveland. Definitely not in LA. And then the Panthers had Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean,
yeah,
you're going to throw the ball to a running back when you have McCaffrey. But yeah, this Bucs backfield situation, yeah, like even if White gets 15, 18 touches average per game, like he could get like 3 touchdowns all year. So he could still be frustrating. So yeah, I got him in the mid 20s. I kind of did a double take when I saw him.
Yeah,
at RB 19. That James Cook. I'd rather James Cook there.
Yep.
James Cook over all day. Okay, let's see. So who's next on? Oh, Brian Robinson Jr. Mm-hmm. You know me. I've just been. I hammered Brian Robinson's under so hard that the books just took his rushing yardage total down. I don't know if I haven't seen it back up yet. Maybe it is, but I just think this is just a bad situation. You have a new regime, or like a new offensive regime with Turner giving way to Eric Bieniemy. You had the coach talking up Gibson and saying, I want to give him more touches. And then the offensive coordinator saying, I want to draft this guy Rodriguez, whose skill set overlaps with Robinson. Rodriguez has looked good through 2 preseason games. And Robinson is an early down back on one of the worst teams in the league that might be a lot less run heavy because they just fired their OC and hired one that has always been pass heavy in Bieniemy. So, and by the way, there's precedent for Brian Robinson just getting benched at some point. Isaiah Pacheco, late round guy. CEH starts the year. CEH got benched before he got hurt. Like he got hurt after getting benched. So it's just like, it's bad enough that you have like, you're already in this like committee where you're not going to catch the football because you got Gibson there, and Gibson also could challenge you for carries. But when you add in like a challenger, like a rookie challenger that just overlaps with your skill set, and you weren't like a particularly explosive back, I think it'll be a little better this year, a year removed from the shooting. So, but still 3.9 yards per carry last year, not enough, only 2 points, under 2.7 after contact, which is not enough for a guy, a power runner like that. And he only had 2 rushing touchdowns. It's not like, what is this guy doing for us? Like what is the upside? Like even if he like, you expect Robinson to be like the RB 35, like what's his upside? Like RB 25?
No,
like you know what I mean? Like it's I just don't see the point in 2023 of drafting a guy who's probably going to be a 0 in the pass game.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a comparison. He's like James Conner without the touchdown and receiving upside.
Yeah, James Conner. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him, but he's probably shaping up to be a steal for at least as long as he's healthy.
I'm not bagging on James Conner. I'm just saying that there's nothing redeemable about Brian Robinson right now, and his prop is still up. It's 750 rushing yards.
Oh, it's back. Oh,
it's back.
I'm about to go get some more down on it. Thank you for telling me.
750 is a bit too high.
But see, that's crazy because I had it under. I think it was at that, and then the books just took it down. And so what did they just like think everyone was going to forget, and they just put it back up at the same? I am about to go bang that again. Oh man, what?
Wait for our player prop pod.
I mean, I remember the days where I remember the days when books just like reset their lines instead of like just like making them disappear for a while until they hope everyone forget and is on to the next piece of content like that. Like come on guys, it works better for all of us if you just change the line and try to get action on the other side. Like come on, man, got to get these Brian Robinson bets in. So yeah, not getting any Brian Robinson. I just don't see the point. Like I'm rooting for the guy. We went through a lot. Love the big hat. But I mean, just all of the red flags and just I just don't see the upside at all. And then there's another guy that I feel like no one's really talking about him positively or negatively. He's just kind of there, projected to do exactly what he did last year because that's how the market tends to work. Once you get outside the top the starters, I guess the top 100, whatever. But Jerick McKinnon, this dude is a 31-year-old back who had a 5-game stretch where he scored 8 touchdowns, never cracked 9 half PBR points in any of his other games, averaged 7.5 touches per game. Like, what are we doing with Jerick McKinnon? Like, yes, he's in a Chief offense where a season like last year is possible, but you don't want to chase it, especially with a 31-year-old who's missed 36 games over the past 5 years. Like, This is it just screams like, go somewhere else. And now Edwards-Helaire might be more of a factor again. And you're still going to have Pacheco, who saw an uptick in passing usage as the year went on, and he's a very good player. And like, it's just, I just don't see where we're getting this upside unless you're just chasing touchdown production, which we know is unreliable, even in an offense as good as the Chiefs, because like we said, they have like 15 different wide receivers that they could keep on the final roster. They always have a couple good backup tight ends. Like I'm not getting any Jerick McKinnon.
The reason McKinnon went bonkers in the second half last year is because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was out. So they just made it more of a two-back committee, but they do like to use a 3-back committee. So if Helaire is healthy, he will factor in and take away a lot of those touches McKinnon was getting. And then Deneric Prince, if he makes the team, could kind of fill that role. Or if they trade away Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But either way, they don't want McKinnon getting as much work as he saw the second half of last year. That was because Edwards-Helaire was hurt. So yeah, like his ADP is a little bit too high because, like you said, people are probably overweighing the second half of last season.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing with McKinnon is that just from normal projection process of just regressing touchdowns to the mean, like this dude averaged 7.5 touches. Like, what are we really doing?
Right.
7.5 touches, like goal line work almost never, goal line, I guess you could say goal line work in the pass game, but that's far less reliable. And I still think his best attribute in terms of contributions to the team is as a pass blocker, which, that means he's not going to be running a route or he's going to run a delayed route. So, and this is not just McKinnon, I should say. Like, he's a very unique case because he just had so many touchdowns.
Yeah.
But in general, from playing fantasy year after year after year after year, one thing I've noticed almost never fails, just don't chase those passing down backs that had an outlier season. Like, remember, here's a good one. Remember Charles Sims had that one year where he finishes like the RB 25 or something, and it was just like, what, Charles Sims? And then like the next year he's just like, a complete non-factor. It's like, don't chase like Danny Woodhead with a RB3 finish.
JD McKissick recently, but that was
JD great, good one.
JD, yeah.
Chris Thompson, whatever. I don't know.
Thompson, yeah.
Chris Thompson, 9 games, RB 13 per average in 9 games. Never gonna get to 10 games. Always gonna just like clockwork get hurt at that 9th game. It's just. But just go look at the fantasy stats of running backs each year, and I'm sure you'll find an example almost every year of like the flavor of the month pass catching back. Theo Riddick, it's a good one.
Oh,
Theo Riddick.
That's a good one. Yep.
It's like even if they come close the next year, it's like a lot of times to have an outlier passing, as a satellite back, you need like outlier touchdowns, outlier game script, probably
everything needs to go your way.
A couple of those like draw plays at the end of the half where you're just trying to run out the clock, but the defense gives you like 30 yards because it's the last play and no one has timeouts. Like, just all these things have to go right. And then in next year, it's like, if they even come close, in most cases, like I'm gonna do like some study on this and actually get numbers, but I gotta bet the percentage of backs who like finish as, let's say, top 36 or top 48 even, and then have a higher ADP the next year of those satellite backs. It's like got to be like 20% or less. Like, it's just like, even a guy like Kareem Hunt, late, wasn't able to, it's just so hard. It's so many, Naeem Hines. I mean, I could go on and on. But yeah, no McKinnon for me. Another one, I didn't even write him down, but Damien Harris. I don't want him as a top 50 back either, at all.
Oh, he's not a pass catching back. You're just talking about.
No, I
overall.
just looking at ADP, and I think we're just like assuming like, what is Damien Harris doing? Like, like James Cook is the best running back. He's the guy that's going to catch passes. What Damien Harris is going to battle Josh Allen.
He'll block a Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, Latavius Murray got only a little bit less money, and could end up outplaying him. Latavius Murray looked decent last year, and from what I saw of him in this preseason, well, Harris is hurt, so yeah, I wouldn't even bank on Harris holding that job, even if he does win it at all. So yeah, don't want him either. Yeah, so that's it. Just no Najee, no Swift, no Rachaad White, no Josh Jacobs, no Breece Hall, no Brian Robinson Jr., no Jerick McKinnon, no Damien Harris. That should help you guys draft a better team. Football season is finally back, and that means a lot of new listeners and viewers for the pod. So now's a great time to talk about first impressions. And no matter how much you swear that you don't care what other people think, we all know you want to make a great first impression. That for me, that means taking care of my skin, which I'm doing with the help of our new sponsor, Caldera Lab. Caldera Lab has a 3-step skincare regimen that I can do quickly so I can get back to my spreadsheets, my rankings. You got the clean slate, which is the face wash. You got the base layer, which is the moisturizer. And then you got the good, which is a serum that you can use at night to reduce fine lines, dark circles, and puffiness. Skincare, it's important, but it doesn't have to be difficult. And 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night, all you really need to reduce your wrinkles, fine lines, signs of aging. And just for our audience, we have an exclusive offer, their best offer anywhere, and that's use code FLEX, F-L-E-X, at calderalab.com. Get 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code FLEX at calderalab.com. Make an unforgettable first impression that leads to those magic words, "You look younger." Get 20% off at calderalab.com with code FLEX. All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Jameson Williams, way too high. Why? What? Explain this to me. How? Like, I don't even how, because like a lot of times I'm always like whether it's weekly rankings or season long, like I just tend to be very far from consensus on a lot of different guys. But like I know you're a little more sensible and are a little more in line with the market, even when you're like offline guys. So like just explain to me like how is the market even getting to like a wide receiver 45 ADP for Jameson Williams? Like where I don't even know numbers wise how are we getting here?
Don't ask me, ask the market. I can't explain it. It's like when Ronald Jones was like RB31 and Leonard Fournette I was like, what are people doing? I can't explain it either, because like even if Jameson Williams was ready to go week 1, where would you have ranked? I would have ranked in the 40s.
If Jameson Williams was active in week 1.
He had the potential of playing 17 games this year. Where would you rank him?
Probably like wide receiver 65-ish.
Oh, okay. Or a little bit lower than me.
I mean, all right. So here's my thing. He has it. We know the theoretical talent.
Yeah.
We've seen him in college. I get it. But now he's in the NFL. We've seen him play 6 games. In those 6 games, first of all, at no point in those 6 games, in any one of them, did the Lions care to play him more than 25% of the offensive snaps. So, like, they did not.
Part of that was due to his ACL still, healing and things like that. But he wasn't getting targeted. He caught
1 of 9 targets. To be fair, it was for like a 40-yard gain, and he did have another big.
He was
run,
wide open.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was a busted coverage, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So he's never even gotten like a true catch in the NFL like that he earned. So and then like I'm watching this preseason game. my Giants, are in a battle with the Lions and Adrian Martinez for preseason week 1 bragging rights. And like, I'm just kind of like, I'm not like even paying like 100% attention. I think other games are going on at the time, or might have been about to go out. And I just look up, and who do I see in the fourth quarter? Jameson Williams. And then I'm like, okay, I see him catch like a 2-point conversion. I'm like,
that was a
so
sweet
he's
catch.
Like, he's having a great game. Good for him. Like, get him some confidence. Then I look at his stat line, and he got 2 of 6 targets from 18 yards.
Yeah,
this guy might just be a bad player, a bad NFL player. He just it happens sometimes.
Do you know why he was playing the entire game? I don't even think we've mentioned this yet. Did you know why?
Why was he? No, why?
Because he suspended the first 6 games.
I didn't know that was just like as simple as that. I mean,
I know, but the ADP already is probably a little too high if he were to play all 17.
Yes,
but by the way, he's suspended for the first 6 games of the season. Explain his ADP now. I can't.
Yeah, like there's a very good chance. Like, so he missed all of camp his rookie year and the first 3 months of the season. Fine, okay. You want to use him as a rotational deep threat. Fine. Now he's had a camp. He's had an off season. Comes back, still terrible. They're playing him into the fourth quarter. He plays into the fourth quarter, has a shit game, gets hurt. Now he's out for the rest of the preseason. If that injury stretches into the regular season, he's not allowed to get treatment in the facility. So he's not going to be in the building. He's hurt. He's not going to be. He has no chance to develop behind the scene from now until we see him play in the Lions 7th game. No, like zero chance. Like, he's going to be out of the facility. We know he's not developing just like on his own, because he was just as bad in that preseason game as he was all of last season. Like Jameson Williams' career starts in 2024, as far as I'm concerned. And the Lions might honestly think the same thing. Because, like, all right, let's say he comes back in week 7, right? Given all that we've seen from him, knowing that he's hurt, knowing that he hasn't been good, knowing that he hasn't been in the building, knowing that he hasn't really developed as an NFL pro, do we really expect him to come back in that 7th game and play anything more than 25% of the routes to start either? Like, he's going to have another ramp-up period, I feel like, similar to the one last year. Now, he has more time, so let's say, but you could have another 6 games of him being like the number 5 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And there's still no guarantee that he's a like 80%, 90% route one guy at any point during this year. So yeah, I think this is one of the most egregious ADPs I think I've ever seen in fantasy football history. Jameson Williams in the top 50 wide receivers. Like
this is up there. Ronald Jones is number 2, but this is number 1. This takes a cake.
Because this is like math doesn't even, like it just doesn't check out. Like, it's one thing if you're just like, okay. I think, it's just not mathing. It's like, it's one thing if you're just like, all right, I just think Ronald Jones is going to get a bunch of carries but it's like, it's just like, it's like Jameson Williams could get a bunch of routes and still not produce, and there's nothing indicating that he's going to get a bunch of routes. So yeah, I will get no Jameson Williams at any point during the season. Like I think let's see where I have him.
Are you down to like 90 something?
I need to. I mean, after this injury, 85.
Bold, but fair.
I know. I got to lower him. It's too high. He's probably just taking some of those Denzel Mims targets, but I know Dylan Drummond's been having a good camp. And Khalif Raymond just got extended, and honestly, everything I've seen of football over these past couple years tells me that Khalif Raymond is a better wide receiver than Jameson Williams. I'm not saying he has more talent. I'm saying to this point in their careers, Khalif Raymond and everyone else on every other practice squad has been a better wide receiver than Jameson Williams.
Even Michael Bandy.
I mean, Michael Bandy caught a couple passes from Herbert, right? Jameson Williams has 1 catch on a busted coverage. 1. And two in 4 quarters of preseason action, 2 plus a 2-point conversion.
He did. Don't forget, he had that 40-yard run.
Yeah.
He did have that run.
Yeah, okay. So he's fat. So make him a running back put him in the Swift role or something. I don't know. Like
my Dave Montgomery shares, please don't. But yeah,
I mean, they need an RB3. Everyone's like, Ibrahim got hurt, Jackson retired. They're like dropping like flies out here. About to get some Jamar Jefferson season.
Craig Reynolds, man.
He's number 3. He's gonna be the number 3. Benny Snell's there too. Yeah, he's not gonna be the number 3. But I do see an interesting name on your list, and that is Chris Olave. So this should be fun. This reminds me of like those times when you're like, you know what you guys have to bet under Travis Kelce, and it's like, you're gonna get so much shit for this, but
I know I am. This brings me no pleasure, and it's it's a complicated definition here of a bust. He's just a guy I haven't been getting much in drafts, so I'm going with that as my definition. But, like one of the reasons Olave went off as a rookie, other than being really freaking good, is that both, Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry both went down with injuries early in the season. Done for the year. So, Olave saw a massive target share as a result. However, Michael Thomas is back and healthy for now. And I think they're going to get other weapons like Rashid Shaheed. Juwan Johnson is having a great camp, great preseason. I think he and Derek Carr have a good connection. He could be like the Darren Waller in this offense for Derek Carr. So I think other guys are going to step up. So unfortunately, Olave's target share is going to go down a bit. Plus, I mentioned, the Saints have the easiest schedule in the league, so they might not see as many trailing game scripts. Maybe don't have to throw as deep as much, which could hurt Olave's ceiling. So I have Olave, smack dab in my wide receiver 2 tier, but he's being drafted at the top of it. So, I have Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen all ranked ahead of Olave, but he's being drafted in front of all of them. So that's kind of why I've ended up with so few shares of Olave, not because I don't think he's talented, quite the opposite. Just I think those other guys are locked into a higher target share than Olave, as long as Michael Thomas is healthy. So I'm not really concerned about Olave heading a year or two, but I think just he had the perfect storm as a rookie as to why he went off. So he's just a guy, he's towards the bottom of a tier where he's being drafted at the top of a tier. So that's why I'm saying, like, in that range, I'd rather take those other guys ahead of him.
So where do you actually have him ranked? Like, what is the
17
number? And his ADP is what, 15?
RB 12 right now.
He's not an RB. That should be Jameson Williams.
Or wide receiver 12. Yeah, he's wide receiver 12 right now. If I look at like recent drafts the past couple weeks, he's like wide receiver 12.
Jesus. That's a little bit aggressive. I just, on principle, I just try to load up on these like talented year 2 guys. So I can't get with you on this Olave. I mean, I get it, but I also like I'm projecting Michael Thomas to play like let me see. Not a lot of games.
More games. I'm projecting him to play more games than last year. Let's just put it that way.
I got Michael Thomas at 12.2 games. So, and that's one of the lowest of anybody I think I have. So, but I do take your point because I actually have Olave as the wide receiver 19. So
yeah.
No, I get it. But like I try to tell people in this kind of, at least for me in this range, there's not a lot of separation. So it's just more going to come down to like things like bye weeks or stacks in best ball or, like if I'm doing a bunch of drafts and I just notice I don't have a lot of Olave exposure, I don't mind taking him. I mean, 12 is pretty aggressive. I mean, I don't.
That's you like, have to take him.
I still want like Jalen Waddle and Smith
exactly
and Garrett Wilson over him, but I don't think he's gonna bust or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. We should have probably defined what it means to be a bust. He's like Jameson Williams is my number 1 bust for wide receiver. There.
Yeah, like he's gonna miss his ADP by like 40 spots, if not more.
But if we're nitpicking here, I had to pick somebody in the top 30. Olave's just the guy that I have the least exposure to, just based on my draft strategy and based on his target share. That's all. I don't think he's a bad wide receiver. Quite the opposite. But that's why I have him listed here.
That is, I would probably say mine would be like Michael Pittman in the top 30, or Deontay Johnson, one of those guys. But they're right on the fringe though. So
I think
it's kind of cheating.
Yeah.
If you want to go top 20, I think the guy I have the least exposure to in the top 20 probably is DeAndre Hopkins. because I guess he
He's
keeps
just
rising.
stuck. He's
And
stuck in
Judy,
there, yeah.
Jerry Judy, I don't like. It's not that I like the player, but I don't know. He's not. I don't know. When I watch him play, like I think Terry McLaurin's a better receiver than Jerry Judy. Not everyone will agree, but I think a lot of that also is like what they did in college and kind of like lumping that in with who they've been as a pro. And I think McLaurin's been a better pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will probably be Judy.
We're splitting hairs here. We're like in my wide receiver tiers. I said, give me any two of these guys in my draft, and I'm happy. So. I agree.
There was a big blank sheet of paper, and you chose to write in Chris Olave, so that's on you, bro. I think it was like last year. Last year, you had the genius idea of like it came out of nowhere. You're just like, oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I remember like, it's not fade the year 2 guys who are just nasty.
That is true.
It's just like on principle. Like it's like there's certain things. It's just like on principle. It's like if I see any Brian Robinson prop at any number, I'm just banging the under until the books take it down. Just like on principle. Like when they took his yardage down, I just banged the under at like his 6.5 touchdowns at like minus 175. Like I didn't even check my projections. I was just like, just on principle. Just sometimes you just gotta just on principle. And for me, it's just like year two wide receivers coming off great year ones. Like I'm just not fading these guys. If anything, I'm kind of the opposite. Like I might take them like above what I have.
That would be
ranked like projected.
Yeah, like Olave again. Like if he falls to me, like wide receiver 15, I definitely consider him. Drake Leonard's another guy where my projections might be lower on him, but he's a year 2 player. Mm-hmm. He was one of my favorite receivers in last year's class, where you kind of just have to anticipate an even bigger bump, in year 2. So similar kind of situation where if you look at my rankings, I have Drake London lower than ADP, but I'm still drafting him around ADP.
Yeah, and that's why, like doing these, like actually talking through these things are important,
exactly.
I think, for people, because like a ranking a lot, especially when you're talking about wide receivers where most leagues start 3 now, there's not a ton of separation in a lot of these guys. So when you see like I have Olave 19th and someone else might have him 14th, there might be like less than a point per game differential, mm-hmm. and that is what we would call in stats like immaterial, or I mean? Like it's not relevant to it's just randomness essentially, like those decimal points.
Exactly.
We're still doing the rankings, and I might manipulate it to kind of get guys exactly where I want. But generally speaking, that's why we kind of do these pods, talk through them. That's why you do the tiers and just different things to kind of crystallize exactly the strategy, because a lot of times just 1 or 2 ranking spots is not going to make a big difference. But when 40, like Jameson Williams, story, another guy I really can't get behind, and I'm surprised I haven't heard more of this guy being a fade is Kadarius Toney. Like I don't, are we being blind? Are we blinded by the gadget plays from last year? Like this guy never exceeded a 44% snap rate with the Chiefs, only top 60% snaps 3 times in his career, has missed 15 of his 34 potential regular season games, is already hurt, is on a team where they used like a rotation of wide receivers as it is. So even if, I heard the buzz, like, Chiefs view Toney as like a number 1 receiver. Like for Kadarius Toney, that could still mean like 40% snaps and just like force feed him like 5 or 6 targets in those 40% snaps. And you're still not going to be happy with Kadarius Toney. So he's another one going in the top. He's still going in the top 50 around wide receiver 49. Sky Moore has overtaken him. And now I feel like now we're getting a little aggressive on Sky Moore, which is why I just end up with more Rashee Rice, just because I feel like it's kind of almost like I think there's going to be less separation than people think between these guys, but Toney I just think is going to be capped snap wise. So I mean, I don't know. Do you not agree? Are you projecting Toney for like a 80% snap rate?
No. In this range, I'd much rather take one of the rookies like a Quentin Johnson or Zay Flowers that are going right around this time. With Toney, it's like if he were ever to top 70% routes run rate, I mean, my model breaks. He's averaging over 5 catches. But I agree. I don't think that's going to happen. So he's a guy that I'm not getting much of in this range. He hasn't proven he can stay healthy. He hasn't proven he can like maintain, a workhorse role as a wide receiver. So yeah, I think in this range, I'm still targeting Quentin Johnson and Zay Flowers, and ignoring. And this is where Jameson Williams is going too, by the way. But yeah, Tony's not a guy I've been trusting. The only thing I would say is this is the range to kind of take a flyer on him, because if he doesn't work out, he doesn't kill you in a redraft league, because you're filling out your bench at this point. But either way, I just think you rather invest in one of these rookies that have a clear path to upside, and they don't have the injury concerns.
Yeah, like a flyer, you still want your flyer to hit. Like
yeah, exactly. I know.
Like Kadarius Toney, literally, I'm projecting to play half as many snaps as like this. This is the most egregious ranking of all to me. Zay Flowers is going 3 spots after Kadarius Toney. Like that's absolutely absurd. Like Zay Flowers may already be the best receiver in Baltimore, and they're going to be a lot pass heavier now. Now that Monken's here and Roman's gone, so it's like. I mean, even like I rather the like 4 games of Michael Thomas playing like every snap and catching like 5 touchdowns in those 4 games. Like because like Kadarius Toney's already hurt, higher risk of re-injury. If you say like okay, if he ever gets like 80% snaps, he'll catch like 5-6 passes. If he catches 5-6 passes, he's not making it to the next game because he's gonna get hit 5 to 6 times. So like this is like a lose with this guy Toney. Like, and we don't learn because we went through this last year where it was like, oh, we're gonna slot Toney in as like the default Giants receiver and not pay any attention to the fact that like everyone on the coaching staff absolutely hates him and is like has demoted him to like the 3rd team. We're still gonna draft him as like a top 50 wide receiver. Like we just need like some guys. I feel like as a community, like we just never learn. And I guess it's only year 3 of Toney, but. We'll learn soon enough, but yeah, like Toney is outside my top 60. I just think his ADP is egregious. I just think like there are guys that are just part of having a ceiling and taking a risk in a flyer is having a path to upside. And when you have a guy that may very well be capped at 50% snaps, or even a guy that like I said, the Chiefs team they topped out at 70, just over 75% for the top wide receiver anyway. Mm-hmm. Like this is just not a situation I want to invest in. Just give me Rice, give me your boy Justin Ross, give me one of those guys. So yeah, Toney and Williams, those are just guys that stick out. Most wide receivers just like take a shot on them. They're going to be useful somewhere, maybe in best ball as a stack or whatever. But those 2 guys, I just think the ADPs are egregious. Let's close it out with tight end really quickly. It looks like. Well, we'll finish. I know who we'll finish with, but you got Dalton Schultz on this list, and I agree. But talk to me about Schultz.
Yeah, so Schultz is a guy I've already been kind of iffy about, just because I don't think he's that talented. He was a beast in the Cowboys scheme, but that was more about the scheme and Dak Prescott. So going to a new team, we could see his production fall off. I also think, CJ Stroud's going to struggle as a rookie, especially early on, which could impact Schultz. But also, just looking at preseason usage, Schultz was coming off the field in some obvious passing situations. Like, he might not be the 90% routes run kind of guy that we think. So that's another ding that I wasn't even factoring in yet. So there's just a lot of red flags. And there's a lot more talented tight ends in this range that I'd rather take over him. So he dropped all the way to like tight end 19. In my projections, that's all it takes is just like 0.1 reception taken off and they fall that far. But Schultz is a guy I've already been cautious about, but now I'm even more so. So he's definitely like a red flag bust for me at tight end.
Yeah, just curious, do you recall like who he was coming off for? Was it another tight end or was it just like a 4 receiver set or what?
I think it was, I'll have to double check, but I think, they were rotating in Nick Vanette a bit more.
Okay, well that's not a threat.
The Quentin Tarantino guy. No, just
Tegan Catoriano.
Yeah, no, I call it. So it's just like they were just being weird. It's just a situation.
Quentin Tarantino. More receiving yards is here. Quentin Tarantino or Jameson Williams?
That's a close one. Are we including rushing yards? All right, but
no, I'm talking about the movie director. No,
I know. Yeah, so it's just one of those situations where I was banking on Schultz running 90% routes run, right? So I just thought, if there's a chance that that's lower, that's just another red flag. So I already had too many red flags to speak of. But if he might not have that role that I thought, then it's a major red flag. And like I said, I think CJ Stroud will struggle as a rookie. I'm pretty high on Bryce Young out of those two, but I think Stroud's going to struggle. So I was already completely off Schultz, but now I'm really off Schultz right now. And I think he's still, tight end 12? He's still being drafted.
Yeah, I actually got to lower him. He's still my tight end 12, but it's like exactly what you said. I have him still projected for like most of the tight end routes because they have Quentin Tarantino as his backup. Although I think his first NFL catch was a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
I believe it was the Eagles game. It might have, think that was the game, but he hasn't really done much since. But there's still Jordan's still there, but yeah, I mean they could end up going some more 4 wide. They have
enough receivers to do that.
They have enough receivers, and they're no Giants, but they have quite the unimpressive bunch of wide receivers. And then the guy that we got to close it with is none other than Greg Dulcich. Pour one out, man. We not quite Albert Ode, but Troutman started. Dulcich plays in most passing situations, and that's just not going to cut it. He was 80% routes last year. He's just not, and especially we don't fully trust Russell Wilson. There's a good defense. And it's a shame because Greg Dulcich had that nice catch in the last preseason game. He broke a tackle, went for 18 yards, but it came early second quarter. It was first target. So not ideal.
Yeah, not ideal. I mean, he started the offseason as being one of my favorite sleeper picks, and now he ends up on my bust list. That's just how it works, especially at tight end, because they're beholden to the scheme. And like I said, that was the one concern I had. It's a new regime. You don't know what they're going to do. He's not going to Albert O us. He's not going to be a healthy scratch every week this season, but it is definitely moving down my rankings. Like you said, Adam Troutman looks like he's going to be the starter playing on early downs. Dulcich will still see those third down, maybe the 2-minute offense type of snaps. So he still might post up some decent numbers, and he's still very, very talented. But, this kind of reminds me of Mike Gesicki last year, where I kind of noted that the scheme just wasn't going to be a good fit for him that year, and he busted. That's kind of what Dulcich is reminding me of, is Gesicki last year, where he's still going to have work. He's still a talented pass catcher tight end. He's just not going to see enough work to post tight end 1 numbers like I know he's capable of. That's all. So, yeah, he's down tight end 19 for me, tight end 20.
He's no Tyler Higbee.
No.
All right. So wide receivers, Jameson Williams, Kadarius for me, Olave for Sean, and then tight ends, Schultz, Greg Dulcich. That's going to do it for our 2023 Bus Pod. We got our pod on Fantasy Sleepers already out right here on the Fantasy Flex channel, so be sure to check that out. You can find Sean on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free, award-winning Action Network app. Also, be sure to check out our fantasy rankings at actionnetwork.com. Until next time, let's get this money.